I just started the recording again, and I I had one other question that was related to your. I call it the art of coaching, and I think the right stuff, the right amount, the right time, sort of is the mantra that a friend of mine. He's written a book on leadership, and in the end, it's sort of a good guideline in your planning and preparation. Is what do you need to work on now? What is the right stuff? Um, how much time are you going to spend on it? And when are you going to do it? Whether it's this part of the season or what you learned last game, um, and how much of it. So that's the art, and I think coaching is something that we get better at every day. And I think the one bit of advice that, in addition to what you said for coaches coming up, is to be open to learning, um, because there has to be a point when you coach and when I coached that we made mistakes and we had to learn from them, and we maybe were smart enough to get some help or seek out advice. And I know I've got tons of stories for that, but have you, and over the course of your career, had those moments of what do I do, and turn to somebody for advice?
I have. I have had some people in the past that I've gone to, that I've sought out to satisfy some questions that I had in my mind, or when I'm moving up, uh, when I was younger, when I was moving to a new level, what can I expect here? What should I be doing different? What's different about Pee Wee versus Atom hockey back in the day? I've only ever coached Atom. What should I be doing at Pee Wee level? Um, Nowadays with the internet, even today, Wally, I'm on the internet at least 5 days a week, looking at I'll just Google defensive zone coverage and see what pops up, and go and watch a video or go and read an article that's written about it, looking for two things: something that I don't know, or reinforcement of what I do know, and that it's valid and that it's still applicable. And the third component there would be a reminder of something that I did know and have put on the back shelf somewheres, and basically it's time to resurrect that. I forgot about that drill, that concept, that way of teaching. Um, that actually did work in years past, but why am I not doing it? I found something different. I'll go back and try that. And even this year, I have a resource now online with, I don't know how many drills. There's hundreds of them on there. I don't use most of them. They're all there to be accessed if I need them or to remind me of something. But even nowadays, yesterday, I designed a new drill for a purpose that just came to mind. I what do you want to teach? How can you teach it? Put it on paper. Take it out, try it out, see what worked, tweak it, then you can use it again. I continue to do that.
Do you have a favorite drill?
A favorite?
Yeah.
I suppose I do. There's one comes to mind, but it's more for defensive, for defensemen. But yeah, I have a number of drills that I like to run regularly. Why do you ask?
Well, I'm just thinking some coaches that I watch, every practice is different. There's some that just run teaching drills at stations, and they don't incorporate thinking into the drills. that's the way they practice. And they'll change their drills all the time. Some of them just stay with the same drills. Very demanding, high pace, and good execution of the same drills. So I'm not sure about what's the best way of approaching it. Like, what's the right stuff, the right amount, the right time? And I've learned something this year watching the two coaches that had the most success ran their common favorite drills. They didn't deviate too much in terms of changing drills, but the effort level at which the drill was done was remarkable, to the point of the work-rest ratio not being very good. It was exhausting to me. But the teams were best conditioned, and both the teams won provincial medals. They weren't necessarily technically expert, but they seemed to know what to do to get the best result in terms of the most effort, and both had the respect of the players and the parents of their teams by the way they practiced. Parents seemed to love hard work. They seemed to love what I call bag skating, but it had a tactical bent to it. It was purposeful, exhausting. At the practice, players were bent over quite often, not fully recovered. And I always question this. And the one coach told me that on Monday that was his intent. On Tuesday, he was also going to be demanding, but not that demanding, the second practice. And the third one was definitely a taper practice. In other words, they just dealt on different things that related to the game and team play. And they recovered to play so well on the weekends.
Yeah.
I found that worked.
That
Favorite
goes
drills,
back.
they just
That goes
did the
back to
same
my.
things, and they liked them. And there's on the stop and start lightning drill they did in a small space, instead of using the whole ice, they went half ice, and they went, halfway to the blue and back, and to the blue, and then 3/4, and then all the way. And all I made sure was they were stopping facing the same direction. So they used the same edges. They always faced the boards or the coaches. And that's all I offered, was the habit, the teaching purpose of that. And then they added pucks to it, of course. And they had the defenseman transition skate without and with pucks. So I think it was purposeful, tactical bag skating. I really wondered whether it was too demanding, but having gone through the whole season, the advice I would give to all the other coaches is your practices have to be more demanding. They do need that element of exhaustion, developing endurance and power, and conditioning in their practice. And at the same time, I think those two coaches could benefit from a couple of sort of like Tom's kind of practice, where he plays some consistent games with specific rules to teach hockey sense, so that each coach could benefit from what the other does. So I've shared a drill from the best practice drill of one coach with others, all the other coaches, because I thought it was damn good. And I'll give you the example of what I would call the most impactful game-like drill. And you might try it with your team, Rick. It's give credit to Sean Bauer, won the provincial bronze medal in U15 girls. It's an end zone scrimmage, one net, one goalie, 2D against 3 forwards. That's it. And it's below the ringette line. And they competed, they battled. The defense had to contain pressure. Forwards had to interchange position and battle and compete, win lanes, battle for free pucks. It was just remarkable. And the reason it was so good is at the U13 level, F3 stands in the crease rather than get up in the high slot. They don't know where to get open. They don't know how to figure out how to support that puck. So that game-like drill in the low zone was just excellent. 3 offensive players against 2 defensemen. And it really impressed me in terms of the F3 all the time was switching. It would be a different one because the puck was free and F3 was going to get it and become F2 or F1. And I love that game. The other drill is Thomas Pacina's 2-on-2 continuous. Teaches hockey sense. And I think you're familiar with it. I've sent it out a few times. 2 forwards regroup. And then they throw the puck to the other defense and they simulate a forecheck cooperatively. Not too much pressure. Well, 2 forwards support to regroup. And it's a continuous 2-on-0 regroup, 2-on-2 regroup with passive pressure. After you regroup, you provide passive pressure. So those 2 drills, I feel, would add value to the coaches I'm talking about that won medals by virtue of how they practice, because their players would be much more cerebral in decision making. And a lot of practice is not decision making, it's deliberate repetition. So the decision making aspect of those 2 drills to me is really critical. I don't know if it makes sense, Rick, but those are 2 of the favorite drills I've seen that I'd like to share with all the coaches, but I also want to share the traditional drills you do in terms of the demanding of the effort, and proper repetition is really important.
There's a number of drills that I use that would be considered bag skates if there was no pucks involved. What I've found, I don't run bag skates anymore. The only time I'll run a bag skate in its literal sense is when I'm getting 0 cooperation, in my opinion, in practice, 0 effort, 0 intent to execute other than just going through the motions. I'll line them up and I'll run a couple of ladder drills, and then I'll tell them, we got 20 minutes left, we got 40 minutes left, it's your call. We can finish it this way, or we can get back to doing something constructive and something that's going to help us become better. Your call. I always get the same response. That's the only time I'll run a bag drill. And I only had to do it once this year. They got the message. The rest of them are high intensity, game-like situations until I see that they're tired. And I use one at the end of a lot of practices. It's called, got a couple of different names, but the Dino 15 goal drill. I know Tim has brought that one up in earlier discussions. It's a hockey drill. It's a 1-on-0, 2-on-0, 2-on-1, 3-on-2 competition drill. Full ice, everybody's involved, and you run it for 10 minutes, and at the end of the 10 minutes, they're gassed. But at the end of the 10 minutes, can we do it again? Because they enjoyed doing it. It's game-like, it's fun, and you can exercise all of your attack. It's a one-on, like I say, it's one-on-ones, it's 2-on-3-on-2s, 2-on-1s. It's all there. It's all built into the drill. They enjoy doing it. They're repeating things that need to be repeated. If you've got enough coaches on the ice, you can do some short-term teaching or refreshing or whatever you want to call it with individuals on how they played the last situation before they have to go back and do it again. But yeah, they love doing it.
Rick, the word, the question I asked when we got cut off was, have you evaluated Development 1 for Hockey Alberta and gone out to do a field evaluation of a coach?
Never.
Okay, well, that's something that I think is, I've done it with 3 coaches this year at Girls Hockey Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey Alberta is backlogged having people do field evaluations. So I'll just share with you one of the coaches, very intelligent young man who sees the game and can talk the game like anybody I've ever met. Great bench communication. And he ran a practice, which he's run before, just about every drill before. And it just happened this practice was the day before the playoff, best of 3 playoff game. And he did this, what I call a familiar practice. And the players were loose. And the attention to detail on the drills weren't very good. And I thought, oh, their effort, they were loosey-goosey, and it wasn't good enough from my perspective in terms of effort, execution, and habits. And I asked him after the practice what he thought, and how he would rate it for effort and habits. And he gave himself an 8 out of 10. And I said, I'm giving you a 4, but I appreciate you got a game tomorrow. So it's not like you're going to come out the day before a game and teach. But I have to give him credit because there was one drill with 3-on-0 touch passing going through the zone, and then 3-on-0 the other way with another group, and you had to finish with numerous touch passes before you shot. And it was quite loose, and he intervened. He stopped them, brought them to the board, the only one time where he had an attention to effort and detail. And wow, the effect of that was unbelievable. So the art of intervention, making a point, getting them to do it right, is, in the evaluation process, that I really gave him credit for that. And I think he knew what he was doing, because I had to really disregard the effort and the details of the practice because they had a game tomorrow. And they played really well in that game. They outplayed and lost the game, but their performance was followed up in a pretty rewarding fashion. Not getting the outcome, but possibly outplaying the team they played. So, intervention, I'm sure you've done it many times. And how many times you stop a drill on an average practice for yourself and intervene and make corrections and make points?
How many times?
No.
Every practice. I don't make a practice of allowing them to do things incorrectly, because in my opinion that just fosters a bad habit. So there's no point in repeating something that is incorrect, because it's only reinforcing that that's the way to do it. So I will stop as many times as I need to make sure that everybody understands what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and reinforcing the idea that we have to do it that way. We're not going to be done here until we get it right, because there's no point in practicing something, leaving it on a negative situation, because that's what's going to be carried forward. I may adjust the drill a little bit if it's something new. I may take something out of it to simplify it until they get that part right, and then we'll go back and do the complete drill again. But yeah, I don't usually tolerate poor execution just because it fosters bad habits, and it allows them to think we don't have to do it every time. We don't have to be this every time. We don't have to be disciplined every time. We don't have to be on time every time. I want them to realize that if I stress something, it's for a reason, it's important, and we're going to do it that way.
How many coaches just do a drill, don't pay attention to the detail of the drill, and don't accomplish the purpose of the drill?
And move on to the next one. Too many, in my opinion. I don't watch every practice, obviously, but I've had enough experience watching practices as a mentor. Yeah, we go through the exercise, 10 minutes is up, 5 minutes is up, 8 minutes is up, whatever it is, move on to the next thing. We've run the drill. There was very little, if any, intervention or stopping to correct, reinforcement, just poor execution across the board. Just let it run and get on to the next thing. I have 5 things I want to do today. I got all 5 of them done. That was a good practice. What did you accomplish? I got 5 drills done. That's what I accomplished. That, to me, that's not good enough. I'd rather do 1 drill, and that's not recommended, get it right, or find 2 ways or 3 ways to accomplish the same thing, but throw some variety into it to make it look like it's different, but it's actually the same thing.
How many of your drills are drills you design or drills you might print off internet?
I'm a great stealer, but I also design. I said I did one yesterday. I was watching something online that triggered something in my brain, and it was for a different purpose. But yeah, I made some notes to finish fabricating it for future use.
See, and that's what I'm finding as coaches, they may follow the Hockey Canada guidelines, print off their practice numerical plans in order, and deliver that plan. And they're pretty good plans, and they get through them, but there's not enough teaching in the station work. There's good repetition, and the kids are learning it by trial and error. The coaches don't know how to intervene on the teaching of the skills and make key teaching points. And then when you get into the whole ice drills, I know right now that the 2-on-1 attack, the attack triangle, it's non-existent in all the hockey I've watched all year.
Not surprising. I don't see much of it either.
Yep.
I still do it. I still use it.
So I've had to spend so much time trying to convince them to do a 2-on-1 progression that would help them attack, drive attack, or drive trail attack, or cross drop attack. And that should not be too advanced for the U15 and above levels. But I don't believe I'm, able to get them to try those things. It's sort of you have to wear kid gloves when you mentor. And I'm not sure whether to bother with it or not. I can make these points and hope some coaches will try to teach more and learn how to progress the drill, to build the tactical skill, and to execute the team tactic. But that's what's disappointing coming from provincials and watching such great young players and not make many passes or execute anything in terms of direct attack. And then indirect attack like delaying and cycling and low to high offense. And there's things that are missing. The evasive tight turn buys time and space for breakout and time and space in the O zone. But you've got to see and use that space and see what's available. So it's at 5%, 95%.
Yeah.
There's no connection.
See, those are things that I still teach. And I know that a lot of it has been lost along the wayside. It's either been forgotten about or purposely substituted with something that's new and more modern.
Yeah.
I still feel that the more information you can put in the player's repertoire, the more success they're going to have. I mean, the cycle feeds off of a wide drive attack.
Yeah.
It just, what do I do when I'm cornered? Well, here's what you can do. You don't just backhand it to the front of the net and hope something good's going to happen. You don't allow yourself to be taken out. There are evasive things you can do, but if we don't teach them, they're not going to learn them on their own. Yeah. You know, one of the best compliments I ever got coaching was from a junior coach once. Told me, I love your players. I said, why is that? He says, they're so well prepared. I don't have to teach. First of all, I don't have time to teach. So the players I get from your organization, they're ready. We can put them in and move on.
Yeah.
That tells me that I'm accomplishing what I need to accomplish.
Yeah.
Is to make them ready to take on the next challenge. And if every coach was doing that, in my opinion, there'd be a lot more players around. Some people would think that's a bad thing. I'm not among them.
Well, I'm hoping we can make a difference here a little bit or influence. But I want to thank you, Rick, for your time. This last 30 minutes is a good session for a lot of what I've had to deal with this year and good advice for coaches. So I want to thank you. And hopefully we can get you to come on again and I'll have a talk with you about different kinds of scenarios and questions. But it's excellent because I think this is what coaches need to hear. So I'm going to edit this and share it and just see what comes of it. But an awful lot of American coaches who respond in a positive way to the postings. So there's some real students of the game out there who are thankful for this information. So,
and there's lots of good information from younger fellows and ourselves and things, innovations they've put into the game.
Yeah.
that I've learned from that I've got to be updated on and educated on. And some of them are substitutes, maybe, but I think the fundamentals need to be the foundation. And that's a redundant statement, but they need to be the foundation of what players are all about, how they can best use their physical and mental skills. And it's a two-way street. You can't be physically that superior without knowing the game and what to look for and how to interpret and how to react and feed off of the innumerable variables that present themselves on virtually every shift of a game. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's just a better foundational way of looking at things, evaluating the progress of the game or the shift that you're on. And it's equally important to pay attention when you're off the ice, on the bench, so that when you jump back on the ice again, you fit in seamlessly. You're not jumping into a new situation and trying to figure it out.
Now, Rick, I'm going to try to do another session with you and get to see if we can share our screens and you can, I just want to bring up some PDFs of drills.
Okay.
And more not the drill, but the idea of playing with sharing and showing one another video of what you've got, what I've got for future sessions. I've lost the capacity to share, and I don't know why, but I think it might be working now for some reason. But we'll
Oh, I
play with
see.
that later. And I've got to run now. I want to thank you. We've been going for a little while here. It's like 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So thank you very much for your time, Rick. Take care.
Appreciate it, Wally. You take care. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.